Welcome to Horror Cinema Obsession. Here, we dive deep into the chilling depths of horror cinema, from the critically acclaimed scares to the laughably ludicrous, and even the delightfully obscure. Now, let's join our hosts, Richard and Angelus, as they share their love, laughs, and sometimes sheer disbelief at the world of horror movies.
All right. Welcome back, you fabulous people. You're gorgeous. I love you.
When you started with the fat, I was like, oh no, where is this going?
Where do you think I was going?
I'm not gonna say.
Oh,
You motherfuckers. I don't know.
you fabulous motherfuckers.
Hey.
All right. I'm your host, Richard. And as you can hear, my obnoxious but beautiful
What? Did you call me?
My obnoxious but beautiful co-host, Angelus. How you doing?
Fabulous.
Whoa, coming in hot.
Coming in hot.
Yeah, no, I'm excited, guys. It's another round. For first-time listeners, we're a horror podcast. We cover the good, the bad, the ugly, everything in between, and we just kind of go in depth and review on a movie of the week. So, yeah, excited. Welcome, first-time listeners. Welcome, long-time listeners. Anyways, to move on, how's your week been, Angelus? This would be, and I don't want to date the podcast. I hate doing that, but this is Thanksgiving week. How was it?
It was good. We hosted our first Thanksgiving at our new place. I think it went pretty swell, man.
I think so.
I think so. People had fun.
I know. I enjoyed it. I had to go to bed early because I had to work the next
You
day.
busted your little behind cooking.
I know. Ooh-wee. I made the best pot roast. Ooh. And you made ham.
You made ham and
Homemade taters. Oh my God. It had all the fixins.
that's good. Apparently we're doing this again next year.
I know. I'm pretty excited for that. We can be the Thanksgiving spot. I think we could even be the Christmas spot.
You're trying to steal it from Orlando and Madison?
We could. Nah, we can let them have it. Yeah, no, it was a pretty good week. It was a short week. You're in the midst of a 4-day weekend.
I am. It's been pretty nice. I got to sleep in yesterday. Oh my gosh, it was good. I slept in downstairs.
Slept in yesterday and today.
Then I went upstairs with the cat and we took a little cat nap on the couch together. It was pretty nice, I'm not gonna lie.
Hell yeah. Well, you deserve it. This week, we kind of pivoted, as we always do. Well, eventually, we are going to have to cover some god-awful movies. This week, though, we thought it was fitting. Thanksgiving, we didn't want to be too on the nose with doing, we've already seen a couple podcasts doing Thanksgiving, the movie, the Eli Roth movie that came out last year.
Which was pretty good.
Which I want to cover it, but not this Thanksgiving. I didn't want to be too on the nose about it. So we did brainstorm, and Vienna's Review Corner pitched in, and we were throwing suggestions out, and what we ended up picking this week is Children of the Corn, 1984. You've seen this movie before, right?
Dude, I was introduced to this movie when I was 11.
Holy shit.
Like fresh.
In Mexico.
No, here, my mom's cousins. I don't think my mom
it just
knew
gave
what
us a
they
real-
were watching.
Were you petrified of the whites in America?
No, I was just like, oh my gosh. The children are crazy religious, not the good religious, and they're killing all the adults.
And your mom was just cool with it?
She didn't know that I was watching. So we would go to her aunt's house.
Yeah.
In Granger. Who were by Yakima area.
Yeah.
And we would go there, and then the kids' rooms turn into like the playroom.
Right.
And
kids go play while the adults kind of hang out. So we would go,
there was a designated, it was someone's bedroom, I can't remember who. But they would always have like the TV on going in there.
Yeah.
And so either the adults would watch TV in the living room and they would kick us to, I think it was one of her cousins' beds. Mm-hmm. And so we would just go and all the kids would hang out in this room and just watch TV and play and talk and whatever. This is where I was introduced to the fucking Backstreet Boys and sing, because the girls had those posters that were also, 12.
Okay.
And then I just remember one weekend we came over and they were like, yeah, we're going to watch this. It's a scary movie. And I was like, all right. And they started playing and I was like, holy shit.
It blew your mind?
Yeah, I thought it was creepy.
Nice. So how now have you watched it since then?
I've watched it, I want to say like a couple times in between, but I mean, that was when I was 11. I'm 35. So just a couple times in between and yeah.
Okay. So you've recently seen it or what? It's been a while.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
I just had this memory that it was scary.
So this movie, it's been a while since I've seen it. So yes, I've seen it when I was younger, but to be honest with you, I don't remember it. And I was not excited when the suggestion came around.
Oh.
I was like, okay. Because here's my thing. I have a love-hate relationship with Stephen King adaptations.
Okay.
And I think you'd agree with me, maybe not, but like some of these fall flat. Some Stephen King movies, like they kind of fuck it up where the literature is scary, right? Stephen King definitely is the king of horror. Like when it comes to novels, and there are some movies that adapted well, and I know directors have gotten it, but then there's movies that aren't so great.
Okay.
So I think this one is kind of in the middle. I think I took a softer stance on it this time around as I'm older.
Yeah.
But as a kid, I remember my mom being like scared of it and like, oh my God, chilling in the corn.
Yeah.
And then me, when I watched, I was like, this isn't that scary. I don't know. Just some ugly redhead stepchild.
Oh my God.
Throwing a tantrum, whatever. But no, it was just one of those things where, is it scary? I can see scary elements of it, but it really, I think they kind of missed the mark when it came to the horror
part of it.
Yeah, the intense part where it could have been upped. Even in the 80s, they could have like did a little bit better of a job.
Well, there was, when I was going through, there was talk about the parts that also came back as feedback that were scary, the ones where they left it up to the imagination. Like they didn't show any kills on TV. They would show like the blood after. So it was up to you to make it up. But at the end, where they just started piecing together the monster, it was like
so that was kind of my thing too, is where, but this movie kind of takes it, in my opinion, where horror movies do great, a lot of times less is more kind of approach. This one, I think a little bit more would have went a long ways with this for the route it was taking. So the way the movie did, they pulled back way too much, and then they like put too much in it where the technology wasn't quite there.
Yeah.
It was just kind of, I get where the director was going, but the technology wasn't there, and he was kind of put in a rough spot, which we'll cover because this was his first film, right?
I think
his first full featured film.
Okay.
I think. I'll have to look at my notes, but
the budget was another problem.
Yeah, exactly. It was kind of a rock and a hard spot. Even the company that was bankrolling this movie, they had their input in it, so it was just there's moving parts, as often as the movies we've covered so far. That usually when the company like Paramount or someone gets into it, they kind of fudge it up. I'm not saying it's Paramount this one. I can't remember what it was, but usually when there's too many hands in the cookie jar, things kind of get a little fucked up, right?
Who put the hand in the cookie jar? What is this song?
I don't know. I've heard it. I know what you're talking about, but I don't want to sing it.
It's going to come to me, Richard.
But anyways, this movie hit theaters March 9th, 1984. It had a modest budget, like we were talking about, $800,000. This is probably the lowest amount we've covered in a movie, right? A movie that we've covered?
No, Maniac was like pieced together.
That's fucking right. But this is second lowest. This has to
be. Wasn't there one that was like 500,000?
Was there?
No. Maniac was the lowest. They started in the tens of thousands, and then they gradually kind of went up
as needed, and they had to find people.
Had people. Yeah, they were finding people to invest, but overall, it was still pretty low.
So this movie does rank one of the lowest that we've covered so far, 800,000, but it did go on to gross $14.6 million in the box office. So this thing was crazy financially successful, and it cemented its place in horror with that. The 1984 film Children of the Corn, it was filmed in Iowa. Did you know that? Did you see that? primarily in small towns of Whiting and Hornick.
Okay.
These locations were chosen for their rural Midwestern feel, which is perfectly suited for this eerie, isolated atmosphere required for the story. Now, the story itself takes place in a fictional town called Gatlin, Nebraska. I did not see this anywhere on a map, and then finally I looked it up. It is fictional. As often, Stephen King novels do have fictional places, like Derry and It.
Yeah.
But it's supposed to be a desolate farming community overtaken by murderous cult children, led by their sinister leader Isaac and his backup Malachi.
Okay. I did see the...
But it's supposed to be Nebraska, but they filmed it in Iowa, which I'm imagining, I've never been in Iowa or Nebraska. I'm imagining it's pretty similar.
Yeah, there's a lot of fields.
A lot of fields going on.
No, I did see that the original budget was supposed to be $1.3 million, according to the director. But right before filming, and we'll talk a little bit more, Stephen King demanded more money in advance or he wouldn't let them use his name to promote the movie. In the past,
yeah.
So they were forced to give King $500,000, and that reduced the budget to $800,000. And it happened to where they started filming at the end. They had like no money left, so they had to scrape. Apparently they filmed a lot more scenes that were cut off out of the movie. Some of them, they just don't know why they were cut out and left out. And then they had to...
And that could be kind of a problem with this movie too, is it does kind of feel a little choppy.
They had to cut down on crew because they didn't have money to pay for them. And then at the end, they didn't have enough money to make a nice, quote unquote, nice, like a proper looking monster. So they were reduced to blobs of light to show the monster. And then they ended up also using local people actually to do some of the filling in of some of the actors and crew for the movie.
That's fascinating.
There's speculation that supposedly King was mad about them cutting down his script that he had wrote originally and they rejected.
This isn't so I don't think it's speculation. This is common Stephen King thing on multiple projects.
But later, apparently it became known, which I didn't know. Apparently, King had a drug addiction through the 80s.
He had a booger sugar problem.
Okay, so this is where the director was like, that it was known that his addiction was during the 80s. So he kind of came back and was like, I wonder if he was asking for money because of that. But I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and there was supposed to be a monster. And the description that I found was that it was supposed to be a green monster with red eyes.
Yeah.
Which you kind of see a really funny looking face at the end. And that kind of fades away. Yeah. I was like, that monster.
I got a little piece of trivia for you.
Okay.
How many, at this point, 1984, how many Stephen King adaptations to the silver screen were made before Children of the Corn?
Wasn't Carrie the first one?
You're right.
I know that.
How many do you think?
Like 3, 4?
No.
10?
No.
20.
You're just throwing darts. But I didn't realize this. I thought this was one of the first ones. I thought like you, maybe 2 or 3, because I knew Carrie was the first, and I knew The Shining, but I thought it was 3. But no, and all these King heads are gonna be like, "What the fuck?" They're shouting at us right now. But there is 7 movies before this one.
Oh, okay.
So Stephen King's right in the thick of movies being made, so he knows what quality is, and and he's seen multiple stories probably getting fucked up.
Yeah,
and so they
should have probably listened to him a little more.
So I kind of get how he can be contentious, but at the same time, he was probably coked out of his mind as well. But that's the thing. Yeah, we had Carrie in 76. I forgot about Salem's Lot in 79. The Shining in 1980. Creepshow was 82. I thought it was later. And then Cujo in 83.
Oh, yeah. Cujo was scary, too.
And then one of my favorite Stephen King movies, too, is The Dead Zone.
Okay.
David Cronenberg did that one.
I don't think I've seen that one.
And then we watched this, remember, I think we were in Seattle or Portland, but Christine. Remember that? The Metallica concert? We ended up watching Christine.
Is that the car?
Yeah.
I've seen that one before. I like that one.
Coincidentally, horror cinema obsession fans, my sister was named after this car.
Was she really?
Yeah. She's Christina, but she was born in 1984,
Oh,
and my
right.
mom got it from this movie.
From the movie, that's fucking fun. That's cool.
Isn't that hilarious?
I love Carrie. I think Carrie did a good job. I know you don't like it.
It's okay.
That's okay.
I like I said, it's love-hate with Stephen King movie adaptations. The novels are great, but I get how they have their quirks too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, like the heavy hitters for me, I like The Shining, obviously.
Yeah.
I like Cujo has awesome elements.
Yeah.
I absolutely love Creepshow. I just got the poster, by the way, for the movie. I'm going to hang up.
Oh, my Lord. I thought that was Hollow Man.
Hollow Man. I have one of those too. But anyways, yeah, Creepshow, It, the TV series, obviously that one was a great one. So I do like it, and Christine has its moments too. It's entertaining. But yeah, so I don't know where you stand in the Stephen King kind of stuff. Is that like yours?
I mean, I like watching his stuff. I feel like a lot of the stuff, you know, unless it's a remake, it's kind of 80s, 90s where they were made.
Yeah.
The majority of them.
Prime King is 80s, 90s.
Yeah. So I don't know. I see them. I mean, obviously now you go back and watch them and they're not. I mean, for me, The Shining is a classic. I like it.
Have you ever watched the Shining TV series
No.
that he directed?
Mm-mm.
Oh my God. It's, some people might like it. I remember it was a huge TV thing coming out. It was must-see TV, but it did not hold up.
For me, I feel like if I see something and it's Stephen King, I'll think about it. If it's something that I haven't heard of before, I'll give it a chance and I'll watch it.
No, I'll always watch a Stephen King movie.
Yeah.
But sometimes they fall flat because like either the director missed the mark, or they just don't go full enough. They don't invest enough into the story, and they're like, oh, that's too dark. Let's lighten it up. And they end up screwing it up one way or another. I think a Stephen King movie, bring on the gore, bring on the dark, embrace that shit. I don't think really any Stephen King movie has embraced it that much.
Fully.
The newest one, Salem's Lot, it had a little more gore in it.
Okay.
Have you watched that yet?
I started to.
I really enjoyed it. It brought it, and I think we're hitting an era where we're going to start seeing a lot of retread coming on Stephen King. But hopefully they actually do it justice and go darker.
What else are they remaking of his, or was it someone else? There's something else that it was being remade, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, they're making more. But anyways, that's just kind of my thing on that. There was 7 movies before this one that were Stephen King adapted.
Nice. So yeah, because one of the things that he was criticized on was the car scene. There was like 35 pages, and I think you mentioned that it was supposed to be just way darker. The script that King had wrote for the movie,
and I got a little bit on that.
And they were like, no. But the director. Are we talking about the director?
No, I have another piece of trivia for you.
Okay.
How many sequels were spawned from this movie?
It has the most spawned sequels. Isn't it like 8?
You're close.
10.
It has 10. How the fuck does it have 10? Because I'm going to say this. I haven't seen all 10, but I've seen 2, I've seen 3, and then I've seen Isaac's Return, 666 from 99. They're all about the similar story. There's it doesn't evolve too much. There's nothing new. There's nothing new they don't add anything new to it. So I don't know how the fuck other than the budget being so easy, it's pretty, let's just throw some more shit out there cheaply. Because a lot of these I'm thinking were straight to VHS.
Oh, okay.
So I do have notes why are many sequels considered poor quality? Because everything I was researching was all poor quality. Again, they're obvious ones. Declining production value, weak and repetitive storyline, departure from the source material. Stephen King's original short story was concise and chilling tale. The further the sequel strayed from the source material, the more they tended to lose the elements that made the original compelling.
Have you ever read the book? I haven't.
I haven't.
I'm not a big reader. I read for work, and after I'm done, I'm like, I don't want to keep reading.
Yeah. Another thing these movies didn't do is the continuity. It was inconsistent.
Okay.
And then critical reception was always poor, and then they oversaturated this shit with all these movies.
Yeah.
And then the competition with the genre, just, again, they didn't change enough. They didn't keep up with it. So it was kind of outdated.
That was interesting because I did see out of the adaptations, out of the King adaptations, this is one of the lowest rated.
Yeah.
But the one with the most sequels out of all of the
Fucking
novels
insane.
that he's run.
Well, I think it's because, like I said, it's so easy. You can have a low budget and then perform this and have something out there. Is it going to be great? Probably not. They're not at all, but it's so easy to put together, I think. So I think that's why they did it. I'm trying to look through my notes here. So I do have like fan perception, but we can cover that afterwards. I do have on-screen facts. The cast was young. John Franklin, Isaac, was 24.
I saw that.
And then they were younger than that, though, 24 and younger.
I was surprised because one of the descriptions...
Looks like he's 12.
Well, one of the descriptions of the movie said that the story is about an 11-year-old who's a preacher, and I was like, what the hell? And I know they're all supposed to be under 19, but then he's 24.
So another fact that I found was the film was panned by critics upon release, but found a second life through home video and cable TV, like other ones, Critters 3 and other movies that we've covered. And that's how it kind of found its cult following, was after the fact, out of the theaters. Fascinating. And yeah, the franchise explosion. Despite its modest success, the movie spawned 10 sequels of remakes. That is outstanding. That's more than Scream's approaching that.
Well, yeah.
Friday, you have your heavy hitters, but even they fell apart too. But Michael Myers, Halloween, they're up there. I don't think they're at 10 though. Friday the 13th, they're at 10, I think.
They're way more than 10 by now, aren't they?
Are they? Maybe.
Yeah.
I got to count it out.
Because there's X here. Let me look it up really quick. 'Cause now I'm curious.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Let's look that up. How many movie sequels are out there?
Halloween?
This is nuts. This is nuts that this movie could spawn that many movies.
3, 6, 12.
You have 12?
13.
Okay, but they hit 13 recently. These guys eclipsed the fucking number by...
Well, Halloween is in between 78 and 2022.
Right. So this movie eclipsed 10. I guess 2020 and 2023 had the prequel film.
Okay, then Halloween has been going on for longer. They've been running since 78. They started at 84.
But I can at least see that one kind of going. Look at Friday the 13th.
13? How many?
You don't have to read it, just search it.
Friday the 13th. You sound like Autumn.
What do you mean?
When everybody was dishing up on Thanksgiving time, was like, I'm going to get this, I'm going to get that. She's like, you don't have to announce to everyone what you're eating.
Oh my God.
There are 12 that are showing up.
12, yeah.
Friday the 13th.
So you're telling me this is right up there with these franchises? I would never have thought that.
Friday the 13th is 1980 to 2009?
Yeah, I would have never thought that.
Huh.
But so they pumped them out in a shorter span.
Yeah, because this is...
Or about the same span, really. 1980 to 2009.
That's
Children
29
of the Corn
years.
To 84. Children of the Corn is 84 to 23.
23. So 39 years, 10 more years to do 10, or they have 12, Friday the 13th.
Yeah, they were just pumping those ones out.
And Halloween, we said 2009 to... No,
they
21.
came all the way to 21 or 22.
Oh my gosh.
So 79 to 22.
42 years to do 13.
So I mean, they track, but yeah, wow. Who would have thought? Even check Nightmare on Elm Street. Sorry, folks, we're doing this. We should have did this ahead of time.
They don't have that many movies.
Nightmare?
No.
Has quite a few, though.
Yeah, not 10.
I know that, but...
They have 10 exact. No, 7.
They have 7, including the newest one?
No, it goes up to 1994.
Okay, so they have 8.
The 1990? No, that's including a 1994. Three.
But what about the 2012 one or whatever?
Oh, okay. So 8. I see what you're
Yeah, they
saying.
have 8. So they don't even eclipse that. And I remember Nightmare being huge.
But they pumped them all out in span of 10
80s.
years.
Yeah, in the 80s.
From 84 to 94.
Yeah.
So
and that doesn't even include Freddy vs. Jason, which technically, so they have 9, and Friday the 13th has how many then?
We started at 13?
So I have 14.
14?
Holy shit. Fascinating. What other franchises? Texas Chainsaw, but they're nowhere near. They're not close.
No.
They have like 5.
Yeah, they were. Nightmare was like every year, every other year.
Child's Play's another one, but they're like, what,
They don't
6?
have that many.
Oh
Are we just going to go through every
We might as well. We're on a roll here.
Child's Play movie?
Bear with us, folks. You guys probably already know this. We're just idiots.
8.
They have, shit.
Child's Play, there's 8.
So there's 8 of those fucking things.
Including the very ugly
their
2019.
So their span is crazy too.
88 to 2019, so that's 20 years.
So they were pumping them
approximately.
out, but they had a period in the 90s where they were just pumping these out, weren't they?
I mean, the first 4 were from 88 to 98, so even that was 10 years. The first 3 were back to back. It went from 88 to 90 to 91.
Yeah.
And then
That's what I remember.
Bride of Chucky came out in 98.
Yeah, they had a period where they didn't come out, but then Bride of Chucky came, and then a bunch of them
And then
out.
Seed of Chucky 04, so that's still 6 years. And then 2013, Curse of Chucky, so that was 7 years.
So they've had some gaps.
9 years, yeah. And then the last 2 came a little 2 years apart, Cold and then Child's Play.
Fascinating. Cool. Yeah, just who would have thought Children of the Corn to be amongst those, though? I guess I just never held it in that high of regard.
Yeah, and Scream has 7.
Yeah. They're approaching it. They're getting there.
Aren't there? Oh,
But
yeah,
even they
7
know how
is
to,
coming out.
and they know how to at least fucking pull it back a little bit. But they had a stretch of the first one all the way to the fourth one. No, the fourth one was in 2010, right?
11.
11, and then what's his name? Shortly died after that, the director.
The first 3 came out in 96, 97, and 2000.
Yes.
And then they
Pumped
went
them out.
from 2011 to 2022. So they took like a 11-year hiatus. And then 22 to 23 and 23 to 26.
Which I kind of have to agree in that process because when you get movies like Nightmare, definitely experienced this where it lost luster when it was pumping one out because the quality just wasn't there. They were just trying to pump them out.
Pump
Which
it out.
I think Scream dodged the bullet on that. But even theirs, 1 through 3, were pretty damn good.
I don't know. I don't think that I've seen those.
I've enjoyed them. But anyways, we can get back on track here. Thanks for letting us go on that little tangent. Fascinating. I love it. So yeah, this movie though, Children of the Corn, the original, 1984, did deviate from the book. So I have Stephen King's thoughts. King's criticism. Stephen King has been openly critical of the film adaptation, stating that it deviates too far from his original vision. Fans of the short story often agree, as the film lacks the same bleak and harrowing tone. A familiar theme, the movie's echoes King's fascination with religion and small-town isolation. A recurring theme is in his work, such as Salem's Lot and The Mist. Stephen King had a darker and more psychological vision for this movie, however, and it's one that stayed closer to the bleak tone and nihilism of his original short story from the Night Shift collection. Here's an outline of what King envisioned. Faithful adaptation of the short story, no happy ending. In King's original story, the couple Bert and Vicky meet a tragic fate. Bert is killed by the children, and Vicky is crucified on a corn cross as a sacrifice to He Who Walks Behind the Rose. King wanted the movie to preserve this dark and inevitable conclusion, reflecting the power of the cult and futility of the escape. So he wanted more psychological horror as well. The original story focused less on supernatural elements and more on the unsettling mindset of the children and their warped religious fascism. I can't say that. King wanted his cult dynamic to feel more grounded, horrifying because of this. It's human-driven madness. That was kind of his thing. And then obviously his critique on religion, a more intense focus on the children. He wanted a deeper dive into like Isaac.
Yeah,
Malachi.
I mean, he came off as a very creepy character.
But imagine if they would have dove deeper into Isaac. Because in the movie, and we'll cover it, he came into town preaching. What if we got a little bit more of that in the intro of Isaac coming to town? What if and we seen Malachi at home? I get the vibe he had an abusive family, poor family, like his dad beat the shit out of him. That's the kind of vibe I got from Malachi. But we don't see that. We don't know anything about it. We don't see him murdering his own family. We just see him murdering other people.
Yeah.
I feel like we could have got more out of it.
Yeah, I did see, like I mentioned, the original script, like I mentioned, it had like 35 pages of Bert and Vicky arguing in the car. And Goldsmith, who was hired to do the screenwriting, he decided to tell the story visually through the eyes of the two new characters. So Job and Sarah were created just for the film. They were not in the book.
And so, I
like
I'll
them
be
as
honest
characters,
with you.
but I don't like them when they're narrating because it makes it...
Yeah, so I'm going to be honest. I don't like Job and Sarah. I wish they weren't in it. Honestly, I think it would have been more creepy not seeing them and seeing the side of the cult and seeing Vicky and Bert. I think it would have been more effective scary wise.
And having the two sweet innocent kids running
Not having
around.
them because they just they lightened the tone up a bit. They just brought that, oh shucks, we're just here. My dad just laid on the ground, didn't get up very long, Like, it was just kind of lame.
Dang.
It fell flat for me. It fell flat for me then, it falls flat for me now. But you like them. That was a smart move in your opinion.
I don't know that it was a smart move, but I can see why. I had something here regarding why they were created. Goldsmith, he put him in here, I saw, because he said it just didn't make sense that every single kid in the town just agreed and was like, yes, Isaac, we will all follow you and do whatever you want.
Yeah, so you wanted people
to oppose, not agree 100%. So that was his purpose of creating the two characters.
So, okay, I can see that. Not because me being a person not following a cult, but at the same time, he pulled his punch a little bit because these kids are just innocent. Instead of fighting up against Isaac, they just kind of keep their distance.
Yeah.
Well, come on, show a divide between the two. You know what I mean?
Will kill them.
Huh?
Isaac will kill them.
Yeah, but they could have divided it more decisive. They could have did a better take on this.
It makes sense why he did it, but at the same time, the narrating was a part that I was like, wait, are we being told a story or are we watching it happen?
It goes back and forth.
Because it wasn't consistent throughout. I know back in the day, a lot more movies would do that, the narrating.
Yeah.
Throughout.
But it's either do it or don't do it, though.
Yeah.
Because I just got the vibe like it would jump in and jump out. And it muddied it up a little bit more for me.
Yeah, I guess it was their way of giving you the background without showing you the background. Because he's the one that he's like, Isaac came preaching. That's why they followed him. But
so, yeah, they were giving you the dump on getting you up to speed that way. But I don't know. So ultimately, King's screenplay was ultimately rejected because it was seen as too bleak and not commercially viable.
Damn.
The producers opted for a more conventional horror narrative with supernatural elements and relatively hopeful ending to appeal to a broader audience. What would King's version have looked like? Obviously, we kind of covered it, but darker and more somber with no heroes escaping, which I love in horror movies. Focused on psychological horror, leaving the audience to question what he who walks behind the rose really is. And a harsh critique of religious fanaticism with no attempt to make the cult beliefs sympathetic or mystical. I would have to agree, though. I think that would have been a better movie. Wouldn't you?
Yes. yes.
Well, to kind of keep us going, I feel like I got us rambling on some things. Do you have any more on that stuff?
No, not right now.
You have anything else?
No.
No? Do you want to go to the cast?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm getting out of order. For the cast, we have Peter Horton as Bert Stanton.
Yeah, he's our leading man.
He's the
Bert.
leading man who surprisingly finds a way that you can fight against kids. He was in stuff that I've only seen him in one thing, and I didn't realize that this was him. Sawyer and Finn. He was Tom Sawyer in 83. He was in Serial, Freedom, 30-something, and more recently, Family in 2018.
Yeah, but he's in the Babysitters Club. He directed this family drama. And then Into Thin Air, Death on Everest, 1997, starred in the made-for-TV film based on real events. So I don't know. Peter Horton, he has a face that looks recognizable, but I didn't see him in any other work.
Okay.
Then we have the legend, Terminator 2, baby, T2, and just the Terminator 1 and 2, and I think later ones, but Linda Hamilton playing Vicky Baxter. Are you familiar with Linda Hamilton? Are you familiar with the Terminators?
No, senor.
So at the time of Children of the Corn, Linda Hamilton was at the start of her career. This role helped establish her in the industry, but she would achieve global fame shortly after, and that was with Terminator that came out in the same year, 1984. She played the beloved Sarah Connor in the iconic sci-fi action film. These are my favorite movies, by the way, Angelus. Terminator 2 Judgment Day, fucking badass. In 1991, she reprised her role as Sarah Connor, earning critical acclaim for her performance. And then apparently she was in Beauty and the Beast, 1987 to 1990. Was that a TV series?
It looks like it.
She starred as Katherine Chandler, for which she received an Emmy and a Golden Globe nomination.
Oh.
So are you familiar with her?
No.
No?
I just said no.
We got to watch the Terminators maybe in our next run. They're borderline horror.
Are they?
Yeah, we might have an action horror we're going to be doing. We'll cover Aliens. We'll cover T2. We'll cover Terminator. We'll cover Predator.
Shoot me. I'll watch Predator any day.
Come on, kill me. Kill me now.
She was in Resident Alien, a TV show from 21 to 24. That's the most recent thing I saw.
Oh, shit. She's still acting, huh?
John Franklin as Isaac Kroner. I saw this was his first acting credit that he had.
Son of a bitch.
That's fucking nuts.
I didn't know. So sorry, I keep cutting you off. I'm excited about this. When I seen this, the Addams Family movies, he played Cousin Ish.
I know.
What the fuck? I
He
never
was
knew
also
that.
in Child's Play. He did the voice of Walkabout Chucky, it says.
Dude, what?
He was in Child's Play. He did a voice.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And he was in something called Hell's Kitty more recently in 2018. I did see he was at one point, he stepped away from acting and he was a teacher. He was a professor.
What do you teach?
I don't remember.
Acting?
No.
Oh. He was in this. Have you ever seen this movie, Tammy and the T-Rex? It's got our boy Paul Walker in it.
Is it a family movie?
No, it was terrible. It was a horror comedy.
Oh.
You have to watch it. There's a podcast, How'd This Get Made? They cover this movie. I highly recommend listening to it. But no, I liked him as Isaac, man. He is perfectly casted in this. He has that look of a sinister kid.
And the way he was very passionate in his speeches and his preaching, he looked like he believed it, what he was saying.
He had that
like
death
he really
stare, too.
was. He is what did he say?
The chosen one.
The carrier of the word.
Yeah.
Or whatever the hell. And then we have Courtney Gaines as Malachi Borman. Also, first acting credit that I saw for him.
So this fucker played in Back to the Future. I didn't know that. He played Dixon, one of Biff Tannen's cronies. He played in The Burbs, the Tom Hanks movie. And then Memphis Belle in 1990 played Sergeant Eugene McVeigh in the World War II drama. So I don't recognize him in any of those.
You see he was in Halloween 07?
Was he?
Yeah.
I don't recognize him. So I only recognize him here.
I did see there was an interview that they did with him, and the director said that Courtney won the audition because he showed up using a prop knife, and he held one of the casting assistants hostage while he was doing his audition. So that's why they gave him the role.
Wow. And he just looks sinister, dude.
And then he said that this was like playing this character was one of the greatest honors in his career. You know, people recognize him. I guess even his son's friends recognize him as Malachi. And his parents have mentioned that that movie made him uncomfortable.
This is how strong...
made him give him nightmares.
This is how strong his performance was. We're naming our unborn child Malachi.
No, we're not.
We've talked about this for what, a year and a half now?
Oh.
Baby Malachi.
I thought it was going to be something else, not Malachi. No, it was not Malachi. It was something else.
Chancho.
No. Maynard.
Maynard, too. And then we have R.G. Armstrong. He plays the mechanic, the old man.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, he was in Predator, played General Phillip in the classic film, The Battle of Cable Hogue, and Dick Tracy played Pruneface in this comic book inspired film. I don't recognize him.
We have Robbie Keeger as Job. He was in Happy Endings in 83. Crazy Like a Fox, a TV show from 84 to 86. And then Welcome Home, Roxy Carmichael.
Oh.
And then we have Anne Marie McAvoy as Sarah. She was in Invitation to Hell. That's a pretty strong fucking title. At the same time as Children of the Corn, The Magic Boys Easter in 89. And then she was in Fuller House for one episode in 2016.
And then we have, the last one I have is Julie Madalena.
Yep.
As Rachel.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. She does the voice for a lot of the Monster High TV, like cartoon for kids.
Her career shifted primarily to voice acting after this. She did the Digimon movie. I don't even know what that is. 2000. And then Tenchi Muyo, 92 to 95, provided the voice work for English dub of this anime series.
Yeah. The last person I have is Joan Philbin as Amos, the 19-year-old at the end who's going to sacrifice himself.
Oh, yeah. He's like, it's my time.
He was in Zombie Farm in 07, Ghost Babe in 23, and the last thing that I saw was something called Strange Harvest, Occult Murder in the Inland Empire in 24.
Ooh-wee.
Ooh-wee.
Okay. And then we've been talking in and out, kind of like the movie. We've been talking about the director.
Fritz Kirsch?
Yep. Fritz Kirsch.
He was born in Alpine, Texas, US of A.
He was relatively unknown at the time when he took Children of the Corn.
Even with Children of the Corn, it says that he's most well known for this movie, Tough Turf, in 85 and Into the Sun in 91. He did start as a camera assistant on TV commercials.
Wait, Into the Sun in 91?
Yeah.
Into the Sun. Isn't that Christian Bale? Wasn't that Steven Spielberg?
I don't know.
Maybe
Is
not.
it?
I could be confused.
But he later moved on to assistant director and production manager, and then he eventually ended up building his own commercial production company, which moved him into the director's chair.
He is previously, before this though, was heavy in commercials and smaller projects. Was kind of his thing before he got this opportunity.
I see. Have you seen any of his work, movie-wise?
No. So what I got, you named off, but Children of the Corn, Tough Turf, Gore was a low-budget fantasy adventure in 87, and then Fatal Charm in 90, a thriller about a high school girl falling for a suspected killer. The movie struggled to gain traction and remains obscure, but it sounds like it could be enjoyable.
Yeah, the most recent thing I found for him was in 2006. He had something called Surveillance and then The Hunt.
So, from what I read, his work in film and television throughout the late 80s and 90s, he had steady work, but he never returned to the same level of mainstream recognition as Children of the Corn. He also spent time teaching film and directing techniques at Oklahoma City Community College, helping to train future filmmakers. I would have fucking loved that if I went to his class. That would have been cool.
That would have.
Yeah.
And then we have the GOAT, Stephen Edwin King.
As the writer. So he is the original writer.
born in Portland, Maine. I did find interesting, he had a single mom, raised him and his older brother since he was 2. And what I saw was he liked scary or horror themes since he was a young kid. He has written approximately 200 short stories, which most have been published in collections.
That's what's up.
His debut, like we said, it was Carrie in 1974. And he said he started writing when he was around 6 or 7. At that time, he was copying like panels out of comic books and making up his own little stories.
Yeah.
And some of the early horror, I guess, or horror adjacent that he was introduced to was Nancy Drew, Psycho, Lord of the Flies. And ever since, he's just kind of became like you said, quote, dubbed as the king of horror.
Which rightfully so. I think he knows what he's talking about.
200 short stories.
200. I remember there's a point in time in the early 2000s where he stopped writing the stories, and it was just, he was the ghost name.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But, after you write all those, probably, you can make a business out of that. Now you can use your name.
Yeah.
Hey, respect.
Respect, yeah. Pet Sematary, Sleepwalkers. I need to revisit because it's been
would you consider
years since I've seen this.
What would you consider Stephen King's best movie adaptation?
Ooh, Pet Sematary is good, like the 1989 one.
Yeah, I think it's between, and I could be wrong. I want people to chip in and chime in on this, but Pet Sematary is probably my all-time favorite. That's what got me into horror. That's what introduced me to horror. My mom was a sicko and introduced me to that. And then, the TV series was another one in that time frame that fucking freaked my ass out. What do you think?
It is scary too. I mean, as a kid, it used to give me nightmares. Me
too.
Uneasy still about clowns.
I would see that picture. I would see the movie cover at Fred Meyer's when we were checking out. You know how they used to have movies at the end of the aisles to buy and they're brand new? They had that fucking movie out there for years. And I'd look at it every time. It just shows face with like the claws. He's ripping the movie cover open. Yeah. And it showed him. Freaked me out.
I kind of want to read the book because I heard it's way more graphic and more scary than the movie.
Yeah. Well, I think the books in general are probably but
better. I've heard people that are like book snobs and actually prefer reading the books.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of people say that
they enjoy it.
That it's a lot more scary and a lot more intense, and there's more graphic stuff in there.
Do we want to touch on the screenwriter that fudged up, quote unquote, fudged up Stephen King's work?
Sure. His name is George Goldsmith. They don't have a ton of information from him out there. Known for Children of the Corn and Force, 5, and Nowhere to Hide, so 2. What I did find for him was, he's direction with rewriting the words.
Spit it out.
Writing the script for the movie, for him, it was a metaphor for the Iranian Revolution with the takeover of the town by quasi-religious zealots acting for an evil god based on Ayatollah Khomeini. I butcher this person's name.
Wait, what?
And his Revolutionary Guard taking over Iran. But Bert and Vicky became analogs for the American hostages, and Goldsmith was using horror film to expose the dangers of evils of religious fundamentalism, something few critics recognized.
I got everything out of that, what he was trying to do in this movie.
Yeah, it was a metaphor for war and religious fundamentalism.
Okay, honestly, did you get any of that out of this movie?
No, I did not get that it was a metaphor. I mean, maybe at the time it was known. If this was unknown, the only thing...
Get the fuck out of here. I think this dude was fucking tripping balls because...
The only thing was when the kid makes a comment when he takes Bert to the bunker.
Yeah.
Or not the bunker.
The Cold War. But that has relevance in the Cold War because that's in the heat of the Cold War, 1984. But none of this shit...
He's talking about Iranian Revolution, American hostages...
I got none of that. I got none of that in this movie.
Religious fundamentals.
That's hilarious.
I mean, Cold's the other extreme. They can be. Some, a lot. But no, that's not what I got from it. Sorry, Mr. Goldsmith.
Okay, just to kind of speed this up, do you want to take a quick break, or do you have any more on Goldsmith?
No, he's a very private man, or maybe he just stopped.
Do you find a lot of our research, the writers are very private? It's hard to find research on the writers.
I found, like, if they're big, my gosh, the cat. Sorry, she jumped on my keyboard and everything started turning on. If they're like, Stephen King status, yes, there's a lot of information for them out there.
When you're a goat, yeah.
But a lot of them is just very brief. They wrote this and this, and they wrote private, novels, and then that's it.
Yeah, it's just fascinating.
Yeah, they don't want to be in the spotlight like some of the other people. She's just coming to say hi.
Yeah, that's what's up.
She said, in case you forgot about me.
Fucking cat. Dude.
I'm alive.
Okay, well, let's take a quick commercial break, and we will be right back. Hey there, popcorn lovers. I'm Richard. I'm here to introduce the most divine popcorn experience you'll ever have.
Don't you mean otherworldly, Richard? Welcome to He Who Pops Behind the Rose, the popcorn that's more than just a snack.
That's right, Angelus. Every kernel is grown in our sacred cornfields, where He Who walks behind the rose personally blesses each batch with dark, buttery perfection.
And let's not forget the popping process. These aren't your average microwave kernels. No. These are popped over the eternal flames of unholy but delicious.
You'll love the way they burst with flavor. It's a snack so irresistible, you'll want to sacrifice all your other popcorn brands.
And maybe one more than that.
Let's not scare them off now, Angelus. But seriously, folks, grab a bag of He Who Pops Behind the Rose popcorn today, because once you've tried
there's no turning back.
Available wherever snacks are sold.
He Who Pops Behind the Rose. Once you taste it, it's your destiny.
All right, we are back. Hopefully you enjoyed that little break and got your popcorn. Remember, He Who Pops popcorn.
Ho ho ho.
Well, I'm glad to be back, though, from the break. Do we want to do our plot?
Let's do you go first. I went first.
How do you feel about your plot this week?
I feel strong like bull.
Strong like bull. Cool. I feel pretty good about mine. I'll go first. Step into the small, forgotten town of Gatlin, Nebraska, where corn isn't just a crop, it's a way of life, religion, and maybe even a murder weapon. A young couple's road trip goes off course, and they stumble upon a town ruled by children who've traded Jesus for cult rituals. At the helm, Isaac, a pint-sized prophet with the charisma of a middle manager, and Malachi, his enforcer, who looks like he's auditioning for the scariest scarecrow contest. As the corn whispers secrets and sacrifices loom, the couple must navigate a maze of homicidal kids, bizarre sermons, and enough corn to feed the Midwest. Will they escape the town or become fertilizer for He Who Walks Behind the Rose? Let's find out. Eh?
We have similar fucking shit in our plots, man.
We're starting to sync up, kind of like periods.
Syncing.
Our cycles are syncing up. Oh shit!
Is that what you've been moody? It's
Sorry,
okay, babe.
That's insensitive. I'm an idiot.
Your
They're all
voice.
jokes.
I think Vienna has some idol. We can bum some off of her.
Okay, let's hear it. That's our kid's name. Our next kid's name, Midol.
Midol. Okay. Behold the OG hip cult of corn husks and children with zero adult tolerance who worship an underground evil entity in the town of Gatlin, led by the Charles Manson of its time, Isaac, and the muscle, Malachi. A new cult convinces the children that anyone over the age of 19 must be sacrificed to the evil entity, he who walks behind the rose. Why, do you ask? To satisfy the entity's thirst of blood and prosperous corn harvest, big enough to satisfy all the corn on the cob and caramel popcorn variations at your local fair. Adults are eliminated one by one while the town goes completely unnoticed for years. When Bert and Vicky drive through on their way to a new job, little do they know the children foresee them as a threat and embark on a hunt to kill them and satisfy their god's quest and bloodthirst. Although the other adults were surprisingly easy to off, the cult is faced with an actual challenge posed by the Outlanders, as they are not willing to give in so easy to this bite-sized cult.
Outlander! We have your woman!
The end.
No, not bad. Touche.
Snap clap.
Touche. Cool. I like it. All right. Do we want to go scene for scene?
Scene by the scene. Guantanamera.
All right. Start it off.
Starting off. Oh, one little thing before we get into it.
Sure.
Another variation of between the story and the movie.
Mm-hmm.
There was the story has a 10-year gap between all the adults dying.
Oh, in the
and
book.
Vicky and Bert driving by.
Ooh,
And this
that would
is
give
just
the
3
setting.
years.
That would give the setting even more of a like things breaking down and getting way more like weatherized.
Deteriorated.
That'd be tight.
But Goldsmith, he's like, he had a good point with this one because he said
It'd be a matter of time before they're found out.
Yeah, he's like, 3 years, okay, that's pushing it because that's one thing we said. How come
Yeah.
no one has noticed that there's, he said 10 years is like, how did no one go check on him for 10 years?
And even that, yeah, that's fascinating. And even the mechanic we'll get to, but he's like, man, we're busy. This is the third car this month.
Yeah.
Come on. You're a fucking highway. People are bound to drive by.
Okay. We see the cornfields just glistening and blooming. And then we go to a church.
A Baptist church.
People are leaving service. And then everybody, the go-to apparently is this Hanson's Diner where Job and his dad go to. And it starts off with Job narrating. He's like, it all happened one day. And we were all at the diner.
But no, in church, Job explains, he notes that most children have been excused of the
from
church
going
going to attend a sermon by Isaac, a mysterious boy preacher who recently arrived in town. He's like, I didn't attend because my dad thought he's a weirdo.
Yeah, his dad was right.
Yeah, his dad seemed like he had a good head on his shoulders.
Yeah, and so Job has a sister, Sarah, and their mom. They couldn't go to service because Sarah was sick.
And she's been frequently getting more sick.
Yeah, she has a
lately.
fever. So they go to the diner. Job sits down and the guy at the server, he wants a milkshake or a shake. And his dad goes over to call the mom and see how Sarah's doing. She was sick.
Right.
And then it starts panning to all the teenagers that are in the restaurant. And Job notices Malachi. He's playing by a
Pinball machine.
Yeah, by a machine. And then there's other teens. And they slowly start coming into the diner. And then you see Isaac creeping from the window just watching all the kids. And they start giving each other the stares.
Yeah, Malachi and Billy Renfrew, he's another kid in there, are present. And then Job feels uneasy when Billy gives him a sinister smile.
Mm-hmm. And then you see, at first I didn't put it together, but even the person making the coffee is another teenager. Because you see a hand put like powder something in the coffee pot.
Yeah.
And serves it to all the adults. And they're all happy and they're like, this is so good. Best coffee ever. And then this is when we kind of start seeing what Sarah's about. She's sick.
And she's having
But
a
her
fever
mom
dream.
has her.
But she has a crayon and she's just like having like a seizure, just drawing something.
I know, just going crazy,
We
scribbling.
got to be a video podcast. I think we got to move into it because I can act this. Just
We're going to have a camera with Richard.
and he's like, Job's like, my sister, this is when the drawings started to
Yeah,
occur,
she
was
starts-
this day.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so it draws back, and now Job's dad's on the phone, and the massacre begins, right?
Yeah, they lock the doors, and then you see the adults are eating their pie and drinking coffee, and then they start choking after the
And
coffee.
then Isaac is in the window, like you were saying. He has that creepy stare, he just like, you know.
Like a grin with his eyes.
Yeah, and he's outside the coffee shop observing this. The teenagers poison the adult coffee, and then they lock the doors, like you were saying. And then the chaos ensues as the adults are poisoned and attacked. Job witnesses his father being killed and paralyzed with fear. My favorite part of this scene, and probably the whole movie,
Mm-hmm.
was Job with his milkshake. All of a sudden, what do you call him? Over the counter, not a bartender, but he was like the owner.
Serve manager?
Yeah, the manager gets slaughtered, and then all of a sudden you see blood splatter all over Job's face.
I know, poor kid. He's
And he's
just drinking
surprised-
his milkshake.
and the blood goes all over his milkshake too. He's like, "What?"
Yeah.
And he turns around and his dad's like going for him, and then you just see his dad brutally murdered. But even then, Job's like, "Oh, just my dad got
He's
murdered."
like,
Huh.
oh, I would have been crying in a ball, trying to get to my dad, but he's just like, oh.
Yeah, he's like, "Huh?" Which is pretty surprising, but I would have had a different reaction even at that age.
You can see someone's hand get shoved into the deli, like slicer.
And then we also got to mention the intro of the movie does say 3 years earlier
Oh, okay.
to set this up.
And then once they're done killing all the adults, like Malachi gives Job a look like, it's all good now. Come on. And they all follow and they do this creepy slow walk out of the restaurant, all the teenagers.
Right.
But they follow them. And then we go through, there's another set of introduction. They do the credits and we start seeing a lot of those pictures that Sarah was drawing predicting the future. She has the gift of sight.
Yeah.
And you see the kids, how they progress from this point to how they continue to kill the rest of the adults in the town.
Which I thought it was a creative way of showing this.
Yeah.
Honestly, even for 1984, I thought it was pretty creative.
Yeah. And then now we go, it looks like it was a hotel or was it apartments? But Vicky, it's Bert's birthday. He's out of school. And Vicky's like,
and it's
oh
not
my
a hotel.
God.
It's a place I would never stay. A motel.
Oh, we at the hotel, motel.
Holiday Inn.
Woo woo.
But yeah, go ahead. It's a motel. I just need to create this sets up the whole scene. It's a motel.
So they're gonna travel to another town because Bert graduated. He's done with school. He's a doctor, and he has an interview for a position to become a practitioner physician.
So they hint is he heading to Seattle? No, he's leaving.
They lived in Seattle. Yeah,
they left Seattle and they're driving across country.
Mm-hmm. And it's his birthday, so Vicky does a little sexy dance for him. And
Was it sexy though? Was it supposed to be sexy?
it was supposed to be, but she was like, "No more school." What song was it?
Oh, fuck. I should have looked it up.
She said, "No more books and teachers. Na 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 na."
Oh my God, babe. That's so sexy. Keep doing that.
Stupid. So they get on the road. I'm done. This is what I have to live with.
We can watch the Yankees from the bleachers.
No more something stinkers.
And then Bert's like, "Oh my God," and then puts the blanket to his face, and then they have their little romance thing, and then like the motel person's like, "Housekeeping?"
She's like,
And
"Get the fuck out."
And he's like, "Just a minute," but then he's like, "I'm gonna go take a shower." That's not just a minute, dude. You lied to her. You lied to the cleaner.
Yeah, be mindful of your housekeepers. They're on a tight schedule, man.
And fucking tip, dude. I didn't know this. I never tip them until I met Angelus, and you're supposed to tip them.
Well,
I'm an
nobody
idiot.
tells you to, but if you're messy, be cordial.
Oh, I never was messy, though.
It takes them longer. And they only are allotted a certain amount of time, and they're supposed to get an entire room clean in that amount of time.
That's fucking wild.
It's a while. You learn to be really, really fast.
Yeah. So in a world of tipping, I know it's a little bit like crazy these days. Try to tip your housekeeper.
Even
hotel.
even a couple $. Give them enough for a coffee. They'll be so happy, or an energy drink.
Yeah.
So they get in the car and they start driving. Bert's stressing out. He has to be there on time because he's worked for so many years. He has this perfect interview and he has to make it. And there's a little tidbit here. I didn't notice.
So this is what's confusing because they bring up Seattle quite a bit, like they're leaving there. But the notes tell me they embark on a road trip to California.
Oh.
But why would they go to the Midwest?
I don't fucking know.
Nebraska.
They're driving all through town.
That's what's confusing.
Or
So I don't
the
think they're
country.
going to California. I thought they were driving somewhere in the Midwest.
That's what I thought too.
Yeah. So I think that's what's happening. Maybe my notes are wrong or where I looked it up was wrong.
So apparently on the dashboard of the car, I didn't notice there's a copy of Night Shift.
Ooh, because this is part of
King
the
story.
This is part of the Night Shift series.
Yeah.
Oh, I like it.
Collection. Yeah.
I didn't catch that.
I didn't see it either. But then we get we go back to Gatlin again.
Oh, well, so they end up getting also, they make a couple jokes. It's lighthearted about the pervasive cornfields and encountering a disturbing radio broadcast of a fiery preacher condemning sinners. They lose their way and tensions rise in that thing. Like it's saying no to homos or homophobics or whatever. What
He's
is it?
saying.
Homosexuals.
He's like, no to fornicators and the homosexuals.
And then
and
Bert
the
makes a joke.
sinners.
And then Bert makes a joke because Vicky says something about no something. Do you remember?
No meat or something. They start being really stupid.
And then he's like, no long-term relationships.
No long-term commitment. No, she does. Because because they were playing along with the preacher was like, say no to fornicators. And they were like, hey, man.
Yeah,
And
but
so
then Bert says no
she
long-term
says,
commitment.
She jokes about it. She's
Oh.
the one who makes the comment about it. He's like, amen. And she's like, oh, damn it.
Because even in the motel, she talked about she wants to get married and he's just
really?
young, doesn't want to settle down.
Damn.
Yeah.
But Gina, why are you making her fucking move across the country with you then?
It's just hilarious. I think he wants to, but he's young. He's got his career, so he's focused on that first.
Guys are funny. But the way they paint him in some stories, they're like, oh, we're young. We don't want to tie down.
Yeah.
No commitment.
Hey, I was a young stallion at one point.
You're still young.
I know. Couldn't hold me down.
They're fucking galloping. That's what we hear in the mornings.
Exactly. Can't tie me down. You can't break this Bronco.
You make coffee and you're like, boom. The Italian stallion.
Mhm.
Get the hell out of here, man. You're moving to the attic.
But I just got a good, strong spirit.
Anyways, yeah, so we get the...
Now we go, though, into the barn. I think we see Job, Sarah. Her name's Sarah, right?
Yeah.
And then Joseph. Now, Joseph, he's a teenager in Gatlin. He plans to escape the oppressive town with the help of Job and Sarah. They want to go with him, but he's like, no, you guys will slow me down. And they do a weird thing. Like, obviously, he was part of the brainwash at first, but obviously he's wised up.
I think
and he wants to go get some help.
A little bit, yeah. But now he's seeing like, maybe that's not the way to go.
And he's trying to escape and get to the town to find help.
Mm-hmm.
They do a weird thing, though. He's like, okay, look out. Catch my six.
You fucking scared the shit out of me. Oh my God.
No, but they say that was weird.
Biana, I'm talking to you and I saw a dark shadow behind me out of the corner of my eye and that scared me.
Oh. But anyways, in the movie, they're like, you're gonna watch my six, make sure no one's coming. They go out there and they fucking sound the alarm.
I know,
They were yelling.
Funny.
They're like, no one's here, nothing to look
You're
at.
clear.
Yeah, it's like, dude, are you fucking kidding me? You just sounded the alarm.
I know. After they were like, don't tell anyone.
It was weird.
He's like, tell me, and then they're both, you're all good.
Yeah.
That I was laughing. I was like, that was not your best fucking alibi.
So he lugs his suitcase, and they're like, you're going in the cornfield? He's like, yeah, that's the only way I can get out of here.
Yep, and he runs for it.
Yeah.
In the cornfield, you can see it looks like someone's following him. And then next thing you know, someone grabs him and slices him up, and you just see blood splatter on the suitcase.
Yeah.
So you see this, and then you go back to Vicky and Bert. They're like looking at the map to see where they are and where they're going.
Yeah.
And they're distracted, both of them. And then they look up, and there's Joseph standing in the middle of the road with blood all over his body. And they hit him because at that point it was too late.
Right.
And so they're like, oh my gosh, like, was it an animal? So Bert goes to check on it, on to see what they hit.
Right.
Sees it as the kid, and he's dead. And Vicky goes out to see, and she gets really upset. It wasn't an animal. And Bert's like, you know what? I got it. You just go say your ass in the car.
And he goes out there, and he quickly realizes he was murdered. His throat was slit. Now, this is where the special effects could have got a little more creative, but they didn't show it. And then I feel like they could have got more creative. But anyways, the panic happens. She heads out because he looks at it and he's like, whoa, what are you doing out here? And then he's like, we need to go get help. He doesn't quite say he was murdered yet.
No.
But that he needs to go find some help. But go in the car. I'm going to go look around real quick. She goes back in the car, and then somehow she takes a power nap.
After this happens.
Yeah, and then she just passes out, what I assume from the stress?
I guess.
So, yeah, and then he goes into the cornfield. He's wandering around. He finds Joseph's suitcase, and he grabs it. It's covered in blood. He's like, oh, shit, something went down right here. So he's gone for a while, and then we don't know it's Malachi yet, do we?
No.
We see someone with a blade go up to the mirror, and he like...
No, I think we do see his face.
Okay, and then he scrapes the mirror, but then all of a sudden she wakes up and no one's there.
Mm-hmm.
And then at this point she gets out and she goes to Joseph, and then she's still dreaming because then Joseph like is a zombie and then tries to grab her.
It sets up. For this scene, I thought it was interesting. Her reaction of her getting scared from the body sitting up was a real reaction. They told her they were putting out a mannequin.
Yeah.
Because it was too hot to have the kid laying around on the road, but it wasn't. It was still the kid.
That was hilarious.
So when she went up to it, it was the kid. It was her really getting freaked out.
And you could tell. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And the kid was kind of creepy, but you could tell the pain was, again, the effects, they could have done better with the practical makeup.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, Malachi's observing. He watches Bert and Vicky from the cornfield, marking them as the next targets. And then it goes back to Job and Sarah. So Bert and Vicky are now on the road. They stuffed Joseph in the trunk, and they're heading to find help. Now we cut back to Job and Sarah. They're playing, and they dressed up in like dress-up clothes, and they're playing Monopoly.
Yeah.
In an abandoned house. I thought this was their house, but apparently it's just a random house.
And they have a record player going to.
Yeah, they're listening to music, and then apparently this is activities forbidden by Isaac, and they're caught by Malachi, who disapproves of their behavior and immediately takes them, right?
Yeah,
to Isaac.
He walks into them playing, throws a knife at the game board.
Yeah.
And then takes him back to Isaac. He's like, they were playing and listening to music, and two of those things are
just
forbidden.
Being kids.
And she was drawing, and that's forbidden too.
Well, no, it's not forbidden. Malachi doesn't like it. Isaac, no, he's like, oh, you've been gifted the eyes or the visions.
And he's like, the girl made a drawing.
Yeah.
And Isaac, with his high screeching voice, he's like, she has the gift of the sight.
She has the gift of the sight.
Of seeing. And he's like, she's fine. And they see the last picture that she drew, And it's the yellow car with 2 people in it. And they're like, it's a prophecy and it's becoming real. And Isaac tells him, he's like, go find the car, go find the Outlanders and capture them.
No, not Outlanders, interlopers.
Interlopers. Why do they have 2 different names? What do they all mean?
No, dude.
Because Rachel calls them interlopers and Outlanders.
And Isaac does too, calls them interlopers.
And then Malachi's like,
Outlander.
Outlander!
It reminds me of Highlander.
So we go back to the road. Bert tells Becky to open the suitcase and see what's in there from the kid.
And she's hesitant at first, but he keeps saying it. This is like me and you in this situation. She's like, no. You'd be like, no, Richard, it's illegal. Stop. You're going to make me do illegal things. I'm like, we really need to look what's inside. This is going to make sense of everything that's happening.
No, I feel like
us.
in this situation, I would have, like, identification information. Like, how do you know who he is?
Right.
Maybe he has his parents' address. I don't know.
I feel like we would have argued. And I'm like, look in the fucking suitcase for me. That's all I ask.
I would like, you don't yell at me.
That's what's happening though with Bert and Vicky. I'm like, I've been in this situation. I'm glad this hasn't changed in the test of time. It happened in the early 80s and it happens in 2024.
And she finds a cross, but it's out of corn.
Well, it's underneath the clothes. She touches it and she's like, ugh, and doesn't know what it is. And he's like, whoa, it's a religious ornament or whatever. And she's like, no, it's not.
She's very like, not in my book.
Yeah.
She hates it. And then
she's getting cult vibes right away, I think.
Yeah. And then we get introduced to the old man, Dale.
At the gas station, they're like, oh, we got to pull over, and this guy I need a phone.
He has this adorable dog, Sarge, helping him, bringing him tools, and they see the car, and he makes the comment, oh, it's the 3rd card in the month.
Yeah. He's like, I'll talk to him. I'll get him to go away.
Yeah, and Bert comes out, and he's like...
I always do my part.
Before Bert ever, like, finishes a sentence, he's like, we don't have it. We don't have it.
He's like,
you can't use it.
A
Go
bathroom,
away.
a baño. We don't have that.
My thing is, why didn't he say, "Hey, we found a dead body. It's in my trunk. Do you know how to get a hold of the police?"
Well, I think at that situation, I'd be the same way. I'm not going to tell more people than I have to. Like, I'm just going to tell the authorities because people are going to think other shit. You're in a small town where probably everybody knows each other. So it's kind of like, oh, I got to be careful what's happening. You know, you got to be like who you talk to.
Yeah, and then the man, he notices blood on the bumper of the car.
And he knows more than what he's leading on.
So I feel like at that point he has a change of heart and he's like, look, don't stop at Gatlin. Drive to the next town over, Hemmingford.
Well,
he's
no.
like, just keep going straight.
No, what happens is he's like, the town, there's the closest town looks like it's Gatlin. He's like, what? Gatlin? There's nothing in there. Pretty sure they don't have any phones. They're religious people that keep to their own and they don't like outsiders. And he's like, oh, okay, weird. And then he's like, what you need to do is go to, what was it?
Hemmingford.
Yeah, Hemmingford. That's going to be 19 miles down. Hang a left and head straight and hang a left at the fork. And you'll go to Hemmingford.
You'll be there. The entire scene, it's getting very gloomy and dark. Clouds rolling in. So Dale knows that something's coming. And he looks nervous the entire time that he's talking to Bert. So Bert gets in the car. He's like, that was fucking useless. So they drive away.
Yeah.
And Sarge, the dog, he's just barking nonstop around the area and by the cornfield.
Right.
And he finally runs into the cornfield after Dale keeps calling him out and tells him to come out.
Yeah.
Then he starts hearing noise around the shop and he's like, hey, is it you? What are you doing? What do you want? And
again, they could have done this a little bit better. It lost a lot of its suspense.
Yeah, and then there's a little back and forth. We see the car driving, and then they start realizing that there's
the signs are all fucked
signs
up.
For the town for Gatlin. They're pointing in both directions. They have different like distance from where they are. And Brent makes a comment. He's like, for a town that doesn't like outsiders, they sure have a lot of signs.
Yeah,
pointing to it. So, and then we go back to Dale. He's walking around the truck looking for stuff. He goes inside the shop. Doesn't see anyone. He comes back out and notices that the hood on the truck that he was working on is closed.
Yeah, he opens it. And this is the saddest part of the whole movie.
And he yells at the cornfield. He's like, hey, I didn't say anything. I kept my fucking word. He lifts the hood, and there's Sarge Spandiana just covered in blood.
Yeah, they killed
And this
Sarge.
is where he's really like fucking loses it. And he's
He
slowly
grabs a tire.
crying.
Yeah, he grabs a tire iron out of the truck, and he sees the garage door open. Like crack up. He's like, "All right, motherfuckers." He wants to like fucking beat their heads in.
Oh yeah, I would too.
There's like 3 or 4 kids or 3 kids in the garage. One being Malachi, and they're the older kids, so they can overtake this older gentleman. He goes in there trying to fuck shit up. He's like, "You're rotten," blah blah blah, and then all of a sudden Malachi like takes the chain, starts choking him, and then they beat the living hell out of him and kill him.
Dude. And then we go back to the car, and Bert at this point, he's just making turns through like the cornfields and small roads.
Also, I want to note, Malachi did not get the permission to kill this guy. They needed the guy. Isaac told him, or tells him later, that, hey, we need his fuel and we need him to fix cars for us. What the fuck are you doing?
You dumbass.
And he's like, he was no good to us, but he's like, we have corn for this. He's like, we don't have enough corn for fuel, you idiot.
Yeah. So Bert goes through this road, through the cornfields, comes back to the same gas station again.
Well, they get frustrated, and then he starts going through the cornfield, and then, he goes in a complete circle. Yeah, and he hit the gas station again. He's like, what the fuck?
And this is where he's done. He's like, we shouldn't have listened to the guy.
Yeah, we're going to Gatlin.
He's like, I don't care how religious they are. And then something fucked up. He's like, don't ever come into my emergency room, buddy. But the guy, I'm like, dude.
You took a Hippocratic oath, okay, asshole?
You have to tend to all patients.
No, but it's funny.
And then we go to the cornfield and we see Isaac.
It shows the mechanic dead on the ground.
Oh.
And they don't see him, but as they pass by.
Well, they could have added another body to their trunk collection. We go to the cornfield and Isaac is preaching.
And this is where he tells Malachi, you're a fucking idiot.
He's like, the Lord talked to me.
And there's tensions between Malachi and Isaac. You're seeing that, like, one, Malachi's getting tired of Isaac and he wants the power.
Well, right now he's like telling the rest of the group what happened to Joseph. He's justifying it. He's like, the evil thing talked to him and sent him a task, and that task was to kill Joseph because Joseph was deviating from the religion.
Isaac said, no, he talks to me, not you. Because Isaac didn't give him permission.
That's later on.
But Isaac didn't give him permission to kill. Malachi didn't get the permission to kill Joseph. He wanted him to bring him back.
What I wrote down was, and he's talking to the group, kind of telling them, like, I think he was doing it as a consequence. If any of you tries to leave, this is what's going to happen. He was told that they needed to kill Joseph, and Malachi's like, it was done. But it was very specific that blood was not supposed to spill on the corn.
That's what I'm saying. He was supposed to bring him back, and they were going to sacrifice him.
And then
Malachi he keeps insisting to kill Job and Sarah. He wants to sacrifice them.
Yes, throughout the movie.
And even in this instance, and Isaac still gets pissed off. He's like, what the fuck, man? No, we don't want to kill them.
And they start being like, oh, God has more power than the man in blue. And they point up, and then you see that they have this cross, and they sacrificed a cop, and they have him just attached, hanging up on a freaking cross.
Which we later find out that cop was trying to burn the cornfields, and he was speeching religious stuff.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
he was.
Richard.
Yeah. Well, it's true.
I know, you're like jumping way ahead of me.
Yeah.
And then we see Vicky and Bert. They finally arrive to the town. They're noticing that there's like corn husks everywhere. In like the buildings, empty streets, and then from all over the town, you can tell they're being watched. There's teens inside of buildings, on rooftops, just kind of all over the town.
Well, they don't know they're being watched.
They don't, but I'm saying
we see the kids scurrying around.
Yes, and they pull up to the Hanson's Cafe, and they're like, "Oh, well, this is across from like City Hall or whatever that building was."
Yeah,
and they go in, and it just looks abandoned, just dusty. They find
corn
rats,
everywhere, like you were saying.
And we see a hand. So the kids are inside this building right now. We see a hand grabs a butcher knife. Bert tries the phone and is dead. And they're like, well, maybe we should just keep going. At this point, you see there's a few teens outside trying to take their car.
Yeah.
So they see him through the window and they run out to stop them. And this is where Vic is like, dude, they just tried to steal our car. Maybe we should go to the next town over, like the guy said. And Bert's like, yeah, it doesn't look like there's much going on here. The entire time they keep joking. They're like, oh, I guess they weren't expecting us. Oh, I guess this and that. So they turn around and they try to leave the town.
Yeah. But they go to a house, one more house, and Bert's like, I just want to check this out. And he goes inside.
Yeah, because they see a door open, so they want to go see it.
Yeah.
and it's the empty house.
Yeah, but they hear music coming from the house and enter. And they find Sarah, right? As they're going through it.
Yeah, they see, again, the house just looks super dusty. They try the phone as well. And then they see on the walls, there's a lot of kids' drawings. So you can tell that Sarah and Job hang out here because it's a lot of the same pictures.
Yeah.
And then there's one picture where they zoom in and it says, he who walks behind the rose.
Right.
So it's kind of hinting. But yeah, they go upstairs. They meet Sarah. They introduce each other. And they're asking her questions. And at first she's really quiet, not giving much. And they get that she goes there for the record player, but that's not her house. And they're like, well, where are your parents? And this is where she's like, oh, at the cornfield. And they're like, oh, what about the adults? And she's like, oh, they're all at the cornfield. Isaac put them there. And they're thinking that they're out doing labor.
Yeah, they're like, are they holding a meeting? Are they working? She's like, no, Isaac put them there.
Yeah, and they're like, well, can you take us to Isaac? And she's like, no, I'm scared of him.
And Bert asks who Isaac is. She won't say anything. And Bert gets frustrated. He's like, fuck this. I'm going back to town hall. And I'm going to figure this out. And then he's like, you can stay with her, Vicky, if you want, but we're getting nowhere fast. And he's like, and then he kind of calms down and he's like, look, we're not getting answers as fast as we need. Nothing's happening fast.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to make something happen.
Yeah, so he leaves and Vicky stays behind. She's talking to her and she's like, what were you doing? She's like, oh, Sarah says that she's drawing, but she's not supposed to. Malachi doesn't let her, and Vicky's like, well, how about you draw whatever you want, and we won't tell Isaac or Malachi. You do whatever you want. And Sarah gets excited. And then we see Bert. He's just kind of venturing around the town. He arrives to what seems like it's a school.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. He looks in the school first.
Yeah, empty, corn everywhere.
He goes to the church.
Mm-hmm. And he looks like he picks at the church.
Yeah, and that he doesn't go in it yet. And then he goes and he goes into somewhere else, doesn't he?
Yeah, and then in the meantime, some of the teens showed up at the abandoned house where Sarah and Vicky are, and you just see them, they're kind of circling the house on the outside with knives. And he goes into another building. It looks like a police department where Bert goes into.
Yeah.
And then the kids row on top of some of their signs, and there says that they're bad gods. And there's like crosses made out of corn all over the police station.
Right.
And we go back to Sarah, and Vicky, Sarah drew a picture, and Vicky's like, oh, what did you draw? She goes, oh, it's a picture of you. She's like, oh, let me see, all excited. And we don't see what it is yet, and Vicky just looks disturbed.
Yeah.
And they start hearing noises that the kids are making their way inside of the house. And she goes out and she notices, and they're in the living room, and Malachi's like, oh, we're here to give you peace. Yeah. And they start fucking chasing her around the house. They catch up to them. They take her, but they leave Sarah because they don't care about Sarah.
Right.
And so they take her with them. And then at the same time, these pictures are just all over the town. I feel like that's what kind of gave it kind of a creepy vibe to the movie. One of the pictures was like a snake.
Yeah.
Spitting fire at a blonde lady. And I don't know if this is what signaled Bert that maybe that was Vicky, or maybe they were just fucking sick.
Yeah.
So he leaves and he goes back outside, and at that point his car is like trash and is filled with corn husks all over. And then we get a look finally of what the picture is that Sarah drew of Vicky, and it's Vicky being taken by the kids to the cornfield. Right. And she looks all bloodied up.
And at this time, Bert heads to the house, right?
He heads back to the house, and then he starts heading back to the house.
Because does he learn the truth at this point yet?
Not yet.
Because he doesn't run into Job
creepy
yet.
Vibes. Yeah. We do go back to the cornfield, and I think this is where you were talking that there's the confrontation between Isaac and Malachi.
Yeah, where the tension's starting to happen, where the dynamic Malachi wants it to shift.
Yeah, because Malachi is like, did he talk to you? And Isaac is like, he talks to me all the time.
He talks to me all the time.
But he's mad at you. And this is where he's like, yeah, you killed Joseph. There was no sacrifice. You killed the old man. We needed him.
Yeah, he's like, you're not thinking this through.
Yeah, and Isaac still wants control. He's like, do not question me.
Do not question me.
And he's the giver of the word. And yeah, Malachi's like, we need to kill fucking kids. And he's like, no, we're not killing Sarah whatsoever.
Yeah.
And Vic is just laying there fucking out of her mind at this point.
Here's my question. Now, at this point, I'm thinking, is Isaac evil? Or is it Malachi evil? I think Isaac's a certain kind of evil, but...
I told you, he's a Charles Manson of his days.
The vibe I was getting, though, because he had reasons. He wasn't
Isaac?
He wasn't killing to kill, where I think Malachi was killing to kill for power and maliciousness, where Isaac was more strategic with his, like, he had a mission that he wanted to do, and that was he was concise about it, where Malachi was not.
And Isaac was actually hearing from the...
Which evil would you prefer to deal with?
Isaac's.
Isaac's? Yeah. I can handle Malachi more, dude. That you just take that fucker out. It's done. Isaac, again, you could do that, but he's more like embedded. It's strategic, so it might be a little more difficult.
Yeah, because he convinced all those kids. Yeah. So where Malachi was just following behind and doing the muscle work.
And he was more reactive, where Isaac was more methodic and plotting.
Yeah.
I was just curious. At this point, that's kind of what I see, and I was like, "Oh shit, okay."
But we do see Bert. He did make it back into the house. Obviously, Vicky is gone, and he's fucking shaking this poor girl who's already. She looks pretty young, maybe like 7.
But he's not as aggressive.
He's shaking her, and he's like, "Tell me where Malachi took Vicky," and she's like, "I don't know, to the cornfield." So he runs out yelling for Vicky. And he comes out to the cornfield, and the cornfield, you can start getting like some of those creepy supernatural vibes. I don't know if you noticed that it kind of like the husk.
Well, opened
the rose spread, like, coming in. And he sees it, and he's like, never mind.
But he goes in, and then it closes.
He hears the church bell ring, so he turns around because he's like, okay, there has to be people here. And he heads towards the church. In the meantime, the kids put Vicky on a cross. And they give her a crown, and they put her up facing the blue man, which fucking scares her when she sees that they have another dead person hanging up.
Right.
So Bert does make it into the church. And then before he gets there, we see that there's some sort of ritual going on.
And there's a pentagram carved into one of the kids that we find out just turned 19.
Yeah, he carved it himself, and he like collected all of the blood into this weird bowl.
And he's a doctor, and they're going to start drinking it. And he's like, what the fuck? Stop.
Yeah. And Rachel's like, now we drink from Amos's blood. And they write their names with blood on a book. So everybody who's been 19 and has done this ritual has signed this book.
So this is where Bert is finding the truth about what's happening here. He finds out what the cult is.
Yeah, and he tells them, he's like, you guys are fucking sick for celebrating your birthday that way. And Amos, he's a full believer, and he's like, it's the way it is, and that's how it's written. And he, Bert picks up the Bible, and he's like, are you rewriting the things that are convenient for you? Because I feel like that's what every religion does.
Yeah, and so now he's really stressing that Vicky is in serious danger. He needs to find her.
Yeah, and Rachel tells the kids, go get Malak.
Right, and he runs out, and at this point, Job is following him, right? Like Job
from
spots
afar,
him,
yeah,
and wants to get him. He just hasn't done it yet.
So this is some of the parts that I thought they were silly, because the kids are easily distracted here at the church to where Bert runs out of the church.
Yeah,
and on the streets, they do a full chasing of the kids chasing him, surrounding him. He pushes them a little bit, and then Malachi yells at him, Outlander! That's all it takes. The kids get fucking distracted again, and Bert makes another run for it.
My thing is,
So it's like, how do they overtake the adults if this is how
that's
easy?
what I'm saying. There's adult strength and then there's kid strength. Even Malachi is a kid. It's like I was telling you, I'd fuck that
Get
kid
him a
up,
spanking.
dude. I would stomp that kid's head in. Like, I could take on multiple kids.
Yeah, he finds an empty building. He gets in there. Malachi kind of spots him and he goes in there. Malachi's walking in, and as big and tough as he is, Bert like hits him on the knee or something.
Knocks him on the ground.
Yeah, so he falls. He makes his way outside. And this is where Job runs into him and he's like, come on, I'll help you hide you.
Yeah, we got to get out of here.
And he takes him to an underground cellar.
It's the bunker that his dad made for the Cold War. Because at this time in the 80s, there was a real threat that Russia was going to fucking drop, a nuke on us.
Strikes from the communists. And there's food, first aid kit that he finds. And Bert's like, he's like, yeah, I think that's the last of our worries right now. And he's like, who the F are Isaac and Malachi? And this is where Job is like, oh, Isaac came in as a preacher, and everybody believed him.
This is where we're getting the deposition dump.
And they're like, are these like your friends? And they're like, no, we don't agree with his beliefs. They just kind of came and did whatever they wanted.
Mm-hmm.
On the cornfield, there's another confrontation with Malachi and Isaac, because Malachi wants to take Vicky down. Because at this point, he's not getting Bert to come out. He's in hiding. So he figures he's going to take Vicky, dangle her around.
Right.
And that'll draw him out. And Isaac is like, no, you can't take her. This is holy ground. And they're going back and forth about who their God talks to and who they should listen to. And Malachi says something. He's like, I think the God is a God of blood and torture, not worship. So we need to fucking be doing action rather than just praying out here. And then Isaac wants the kids to put Malachi in his place, essentially.
Yeah.
Malachi gives him a shove, falls on the ground, and this is where they're really showing their strength and the division in the group.
Well, you see that Malachi has full power. Like, they're listening to Malachi, not Isaac.
Yeah, because he's the one. Even the girl Rachel at the church, they were like, get Isaac, and she's like, no, get Malachi.
Yeah. Because
Isaac is the one that yells at them and tells them what to do, but Malachi is the action doer.
The enforcer.
Yeah. And and they want him, and at that point, Malachi's like, they're tired of listening to you. And they start listening to Malachi. So he tells them, take down Vicky and put Isaac up there. And he's going to go on the cross. And Isaac is freaking the fuck
he's
out.
Like, no.
Yeah. So Malachi takes Vicky out on the streets. And he cuts, he's kind of pushing her around. Cuts her face at one point and yelling at the Outlander. We have your woman.
Yeah, we have your woman.
And
it's all hilarious.
And the bunker Job is like, are you looking for that lady? Like, that kiddo, that's the only other adult in the town right now.
Yeah.
He's like, I know where they are. She's in the cornfield. So both they're going to take Bert to where Vicky is.
Yeah.
And then meanwhile, there's Amos's ritual is continuing. Rachel has a really creepy mask out of like corn husks. Did you notice that? She's holding up in front of her face.
Yeah.
That I saw was in one of the pictures that were shown around the houses.
Right.
Isaac is up in the cross, but he's yelling at all the kids, and he's like, dude, like, I'm the giver of the loss. He's like, everything you're doing to me is gonna it's gonna come back to you guys for this not listening and paying attention to him. And then Malachi's like, good news, Amos, for your 19th passing over, whatever. Isaac is going to keep you company as he comes.
Yeah.
So Isaac knows that something fucked is going to happen, and he's not happy about it.
At this point, they find the cornfield. Bert does, right?
Yeah, and then
he confronts the cult.
They see crosses and fire across the field.
Yeah, so Bert interrupts the ritual, and he's pleading with the children to abandon the cult. And then a fight ensues between Malachi and him, right? But as the chaos is breaking out, but a little bit before that, you see this cheesiness of even the effects are cheesy at the time for 1984, but Isaac is now consumed. He sees like this yellow like thing coming up to him. He's like, no, no, no. And then it like takes him over and it's this yellow like digital.
It turns red when it goes into his body.
And then it launches him into space. Like it launches him like a
Like
bottle
a fucking
rocket.
firework.
I was like, that's fucking hilarious. And then I just imagine hearing him, no,
I listened to you. I did everything you said.
It was like a cartoon. I was like, that's fucking funny. And then Malachi and fucking Bert are just going at it.
Yeah, Bert also calls them out on their bullshit.
And
He's like, "What kind of? Why are you guys killing your parents? You guys are
a
dumb."
religion that isn't compassionate and love is not religion.
Yeah,
and he's like, and then him and Malachi are at the end where Malachi's on the ground, and then Bert grabs the knife, and he's like, "Oh yeah, this is what you want? Are you not entertained?" And then it looks like he's gonna go stab Malachi, but then he just throws the knife at the dirt next to his head. And just was like, whatever, and gets out of there.
The kid, yeah, and then you hear a growl coming from the corn, and it's Isaac.
Yeah.
And they're like,
yeah.
Oh, and he's like, it wants Malachi too.
It wants you too, Malachi.
That was creepy. I feel like back then, I was scared of him when he came back.
Isaac did a pretty good job with that.
Yeah, he looked fucking scary. And he chokes Malachi and kills him.
Yeah.
And at this point, all the kids are fucking freaking the fuck out. Forgetting a religion, forgetting it cold. They all scramble.
Now they all run, and they run into the barn because now the weather, it's like a tornado happening.
Yeah. And I thought it was fucking funny because Bert goes in there and he's like, oh, Vicky, the love of my life. And he's like,
I love you, baby.
Cuddling him. And he's like, Job, you go fucking help him and you close the barn doors. I was like, bitch, you're the adult here. Why are you sending the little kid to close the doors? And Job, he's like,
kids.
Okay, I don't care. You fucking late 20s, 30s, you're sending the fucking 8-year-old to go close the barn doors?
But
Get the fuck out of here. The other thing that was funny too. So Bert's trying to figure out how do we destroy the monster. He's like, has anyone tried to kill him? And they're like, yeah, the blue man.
He's like, who the fuck is this blue man?
Yeah, and they're like, he went over. He was reading a page from the Bible, and at the steel.
And then Job has this in his pocket.
So one scene that got taken out of the movie that explained this right here.
It was showing
the blue man, and it was showing the page of the Bible falling out of his pocket and Job grabbing that page.
So that would be an important clip in this movie that I would have
how he
explained
got
it a little
it, yeah.
better. Yeah.
So he read it, and it was highlighted. It said, the devil that deceived them was cast into a lake of fire. And they're like, what the fuck does that mean? And Vicky's like, oh, you got to burn the field. So
yeah, they're trying to see, because religion, it's nothing's ever straightforward. It's almost a riddle.
Coincidentally, there's like 2 huge things of alcohol in the barn. So they're going to go get hoses and stuff and bottles, and they're going to go light the field on fire. And then the other fucking thing, Bert's like, oh, I need a rag. Vicky grabs Job and fucking rips his vest.
He's like, hey, that's not a rag.
Yeah, he's like, that's not nice. I was like, oh my god, this kid. They're just fucking tearing him.
Yeah.
And
I feel like that would be a Vienna thing. That's not a rag.
No. So Bert goes out into the field with the hose attached to the alcohol and the bottle in hand.
And they create a Molotov cocktail. Bert plans to ignite the irrigation system. So he's going to take this alcohol or whatever, the gasoline, I guess, and put it into the irrigation system.
Yeah, but on his way out there, he trips. The corn, like, it's alive. It wraps him up all over.
Yeah.
And he has a pocket knife. And then Job runs out there. Again, brave little Job helps him get out of free himself.
And Bert's like, what the fuck you doing out here? You're going to die, Bert.
And he's like, go to the barn. And he's like, oh. Offended that he got told. He's like, excuse me?
He's like, what the fuck? And then Bert is like, get to the barn. And then he goes, and Job still doesn't listen.
And he's following him.
Bert can't figure out, but he finally starts dumping the fuel into the irrigation system, but he can't figure out how to start it. This is where now he's like, Job's like, you know how to run that thing? He's like, crank it. And then he's like, and Bert's like, oh shit, I got to crank it. So he does, and then he still uses Job's help because he's like, you got to get the valve. You got to open that for me.
The thing that I found interesting, so Bert's a doctor, right? Like, I wouldn't have not known. It was just interesting that at the last scene, he knows exactly where things are and how they work. All this time he's been around town trying to chase Vicky down because she keeps getting taken and trying to figure out how to get to their next destination. Yeah. They have Joseph fucking decaying in the trunk of their car.
Well, he's an afterthought. He
knows exactly how to work this and how to. I wouldn't have known. I would have been like, huh, Bert?
He doesn't know.
Well, kind of. He knew where things were out in the barn.
I think he's more mechanically inclined. Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, they get the alcohol through the irrigation system, spread everything around. Meanwhile, you can see the monster rolling in and the big red puffy angry cloud.
Yeah, this is kind of the final confrontation, isn't it?
So Bert lights the bottle and tosses it onto the field, totally misses the mark, and Job runs out into the thing, grabs it, brings it back to him.
Oh yeah, he's like, Job, what are you doing? And because like, Bert fucking muffed the throw.
Yeah.
And yeah, he grabs it. He's like, can you throw it right this time?
Yeah, don't fuck it up. I was like, holy shit. The entire time there's like the monster. You can see the dirt burrows just kind of lifting around.
Almost like Tremors.
Yeah. And they finally get the field to go up in fire. It does a big boom. And then
this is where that thing you saw.
The main characters it shows in the big cloud of smoke.
Instead of the green monster, it was a red monster.
Just an outlined growly face. It reminded me of like the Grinch pouting as it like fades away. They go find their car. The car is full of corn stalks still. And they're like, oh, I guess we're walking 19 miles to the next town.
So yeah, after the fire, they're like, all is well. Let's get back. And then it kind of cuts, and then it's kind of the next day. It's the morning. And yeah, they're like, oh man, the car's all fucked. Are you in any shape to walk 19 miles? He's like, yeah, I'll be fine. He's like, are you? She's like, yeah, I got the best doctor in town to take care of me. And even then, they make a joke too, like, hey kids, you want to stay the night with us? And she's like, the night? Okay, maybe a week. Maybe forever, or whatever, a month. Yeah. And the kids are like, yeah.
The next funny thing, Bert's like, oh, let me just get the map from the car.
Yeah.
He gets in there and Rachel's behind and she's like, interloper with a knife.
Yeah.
And he fights her off, gets out, and Rachel is coming full on hot to get out of the car. And he just slams the door in her face, and that's it. She gets knocked out cold. And they're like, well, now what? And Vicky's like, I guess we'll send her a get well car from Seattle.
Oh, yeah, they're going back to Seattle.
Yeah.
Oh.
I was like, what the fuck?
And then, yeah, that was it. And then it said the end.
Yeah, apparently there was the monster when it was underground. Yeah. They did this full-on thing. It was called a turtle. It was a wheelbarrow bucket flipped upside down, and they put wheels on it. And it was set on rails in a trench, and they attached it to a pulley that was connected to a tractor, and that was covered with a tarp, and then they would throw a bunch of dirt over it, and the tractor was dragging it.
That's cool.
Just fucking traveling through.
That's cool.
And then they would end in a sharp hill, giving the illusion that the creature was like going deeper underground to the ground.
Yeah.
And the trench itself was dug by a local group of Boy Scouts who were interested in learning how film and special effects were made. So that was pretty cool.
Oh, shit.
They did get a movie badge. Good for them. Snap clap for the Boy Scouts.
Yeah. So after this extensive review and talk of this movie, has your stance changed on the film?
No.
It hasn't changed?
No.
Come on, we need honest opinions from Angus. I feel like I'm very honest and you pull punches.
No. I pull punches?
Yeah. So how...
Very cool movie.
You liked it? You'd watch it again?
No.
So it wasn't a very cool movie.
It's cool it was made, the intent, yada, 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 yada. But, I don't know. I feel like it doesn't stand nowadays. You know what I mean? It doesn't hold
up. What would you rank this movie?
I think I would rank it now. if I had seen it fresh eyes, like not having any feelings about it before, maybe like a 2, 1.5, 2. At 2.
You give it a 2?
I give it a 2.
So I give this movie a 2.5 out of 5. And here's my thing.
Okay.
The good atmosphere is really good. The rural settings, cornfields, overall tone, I thought was pretty effective. Characters, for the most part, Isaac and Malachi, very memorable. And then the bad. Plot execution was terrible. Acting, not great. Middle of the road. And then special effects is what did it in for me. So I got a 2.5 rating. So Children of the Corn is entertaining and creepy enough to be memorable, but it's flawed in its execution. It's quintessential example of a cult classic. Enjoyable despite its imperfections, but not a masterpiece. Fans of campy 80s horror will appreciate this more, while others might find it dated and overly simplistic, which I think that's where we kind of land.
Yeah. Dun, dun, dun.
And yeah, it just doesn't hold up. Strengths, it hasn't kept it relative. There's no way this could happen in today's standards.
Dang, Gina.
All right. Do we want to... Well, before we take a break, what was your favorite kill?
My favorite... Oh, shit. I forgot to think about the favorite kills. You go first.
Mine would have to be the kid getting ran over.
Oh, Joseph.
Yeah, even though he didn't die there, he got his throat slit.
My favorite kill would have to be...
The people in the cafe.
That was pretty... The old people that were like, they just kind of leaned on each other, and that was it.
Yeah.
Very awkwardly. You can tell they were just like holding their posture, like, can we
peacefully.
be done? Can we get up?
Yeah.
It would have to be Malachi. He got shot up like a firework.
No, that was Isaac.
Sorry, Isaac. He came in like a wrecking ball.
Okay.
I was
Cool.
thinking Katy Perry and Miley Cyrus came out.
Cool.
Katy
Okay.
Perry has a fireworks song, right? Yes.
All right.
Okay, sorry. Yes, we're going to break.
All right. Let's take a break. We'll be right back with Vienna's Review Corner.
Hello. Welcome back to another section of Vienna's Review Corner. Pew, 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 pew.
It's actually not a section. It's a segment.
A segment.
Okay.
I'm not cut out for introductions, okay?
Okay.
Hello, Camille's.
Is that it?
Yep. How is your day going today?
Boring.
Camille's is Vienna. FYI, listeners.
I think they would have guessed that.
Maybe. I don't know. First time listeners, this is Vienna, aka Camille, aka Review Corner.
It's actually Camila. You suggested Children of the Corn.
I know, I'm just that cool.
You're just that cool. Did you watch it in its entirety?
No, I've seen this before.
Have you watched this many times?
Yeah.
Like how many times?
I don't know, a bunch.
Oh, cool. Do you like it?
Yeah.
Is it a go-to?
Kinda. I feel like it's good for around this season. Thanksgiving, Halloweenish.
Halloweenish?
Yeah.
How do you feel about the movie?
I like it.
Do you think it holds?
Maybe not holds, but it's definitely like a classic. So, yeah.
Okay. What kind of reviews did you have for us today on the movie?
So it was like pretty mixed, but it was more so like people going back on it and being like, wow, this is a bad movie.
Oh.
No shit, really?
That was
Yeah.
kind of.
Yeah, it didn't hold up, kind of like what we were saying, Angels.
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
So this movie, sorry, I'm just getting into it. I had a phone call. I'm on call, unfortunately, for my work. You didn't like this movie, or you did?
No, I think it's good. It like I said, it doesn't hold up, but it's definitely a classic.
I think it's a classic too, but yeah, it lost its luster. Kind of similar to other movies we've covered in the past, but I think this one more than any kind of showed its age.
Yeah.
So what'd you rank it?
Oh, I haven't said yet.
Oh, okay. What'd you rank it? You've seen this start to finish, right?
Yeah. Probably like 3.5.
Give it a 3.5. Okay. Your mom gave it a 2. I gave it a 2.5, and you're at a 3. So you're a little higher up.
3.5.
Yeah, 3 point. So, hey, that's pretty justifiable, though. I think that kind of follows the trend of people, right? What are some of what the people that watched it, the reviews that you found, what are they saying?
Someone gave it 1.5 stars and said, "Why was this so boring? Cornfields are scary, cults are scary, children are scary, so why wasn't this scary? The ending was so anticlimactic that it was funny."
Okay.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm. Someone gave it 2 stars and said, "Did they just forget that they had the body of a dead kid in the trunk of their car that whole time?"
Seriously. Oh, yeah. At the end, they just left him in there.
Yeah.
You're like, whatever, we're going back to Seattle by a little kid.
Yeah. Someone gave it 2 stars and said, "Legend has it that little Joey's body is still rotting in that trunk."
Jesus.
Someone gave it 4.5 stars and said, "Outlander jabronis everywhere hate this, but it's still one of my favorite moody killer kid folk horror jams from the 80s.
Yeah, skibbity toilet.
Oh my God.
Ohio Riz.
Okay. Someone gave it 2 stars and said, "Isaac has seriously sinister theater kid energy."
He does.
Mm-hmm.
He's very powerful.
I know. He's something else. He was someone that I would like see at my school.
Really?
Probably.
Hear me out on this, Vienna. Would you ever consider being Isaac for Halloween? You kind of have that look, like it's in your eyes.
Oh. I was like, oh.
What look?
And you have the high-pitched voice to require.
Someone gave it 4.5 stars and said, "One of my favorite Stephen King adaptations and one of my childhood favorites. This is one of the first horror movies I remember seeing as a kid."
For many, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
For many people.
Was it for you?
No.
No. What about you?
I watched this when I was 11.
When did you see this?
I don't know. When did I see this?
I didn't introduce you to it.
Yeah, you did.
I did?
Yeah, you were like, "Oh, have you ever watched this?" And I was like, "No." And you were like, "Oh, let's
13
watch it."
maybe?
I don't know.
Not that
Something.
young. Because I used to think it was scary.
Someone gave it 2 stars and said, "For a movie with that many sequels, it's surprising how unbearably dull this whole affair was. Nothing of substance happened, and oh my god, that cult leader child was so annoying. I couldn't stand him. Seriously, there's gotta be a better version of this film somewhere because this really can't be it."
True, dude.
I feel like they made too many movies after it. I watched the second one and it was
You
not good
did?
at all. No.
Yeah. They made 10 sequels, Vienna.
Is
10.
the Isaac Returns any good? Is he a zombie?
I don't know.
I don't know.
You say you watched it.
I
oh,
can't
is that what
remember
it's
it.
called?
Oh,
Isaac's Return, 666.
yeah.
I can't remember the story, to be honest with you. I don't even think I watched it in full.
I think they burned down the farmhouse. That's what I remember. And I was like, this is super bad. It was really bad. Someone gave
I
it...
think Eva Mendes is in one of these.
Really?
Really?
Yeah, in one of the sequels.
Someone gave it 5 stars and said, "One of my favorite movies by Stephen King based on his short stories. What I mean about short stories is why make more based on the same damn thing? LOL. Anyway, the second one is good too." Which I don't agree with.
Wow. Is Isaac's Revenge, is Eva Mendes in that one?
It has Natalie Ramsey, Nancy Allen, Alex Cormzay. No.
It must be later.
I can read you the description after Vienna's done.
Perfect.
And then someone gave it 2 stars and said, "My apologies to the Hellraiser, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and Silent Night, Deadly Night franchises. I forgot how completely abysmal this series is."
Oh, shit. Okay. Hold your thought on this. How many Hellraisers have they made? We've covered it in our last episode. I just can't remember. That was your last comment?
Yeah.
Shit, well, thank you.
This looks like Richard.
What looks like Richard?
Oh, it does it? That guy has a square jaw. I have a round, beautiful face.
Oh,
He kind of looks
no.
like him. A little from afar. Look.
Oh, wait. Richard has a clone. There are 10 Hellraisers.
10 of them.
From 87 to 2018.
Wow. So
the
they're
first
kinda,
2 were back to back.
yeah.
And then they started phasing out.
And
Kind of.
And they're getting duller and
Oh,
duller.
there was 2 that came out in the same year. Hellraiser Deader. That makes
Yeah.
no fucking sense. And then Hellraiser Hellworld. They both
So-
came out in 2005.
The one, the internet one, Hellworld or whatever, it kind of looks like the Matrix. I think Henry Cavill is in that one.
Really?
I'm shit you not. I think he is.
He is.
He's very young in it, and the poor guy had to star in it, I think.
Oh my gosh. He is in here.
I love looking back and seeing that shit. I'm like, oh, Superman was in this.
Dun, 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 dun.
What's it? The Witcher?
Yeah.
Yep.
That's funny.
Yeah, it was before he bulked up. Okay, cool.
What movie are we watching next?
Dun, dun, dun.
Richard, can you pronounce it now?
La Llorona.
Good job. The Curse of La Llorona.
The Curse of La Llorona. Arrow! Are you excited for that one?
No.
Isaac's return starts in the story of the daughter of one of the original members of the cult.
Whoa.
She goes back to her hometown to find her mother and explore her past. And then Isaac, the original cult leader, wakes from a coma. What the fuck? I thought he was dead and possessed.
That's how it deviates. It doesn't really follow it. So Vienna's not stoked for La Llorona. What about you?
I'm stoked to talk about, I found like the actual story of La Llorona, the folklore.
But you're not stoked on the movie? I'm stoked for both.
You're stoked for both?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just not a great...
It's not a
La
good
Llorona.
representation.
We'll see. It has good characters. It has, what's her name? Linda
If I remember this right, the guy who played in The Nun, the priest, remember that? Isn't he in this one?
Yeah, father.
So he plays in the same
it's all
universe.
connected?
He plays in the same universe, different characters.
He was last in Annabelle.
Yeah,
Was
but
Annabelle before
he's
Nun
in
too?
this one, isn't he?
No.
In La Llorona?
It says the last movie he was in from the universe was Annabelle.
Oh, okay.
It's the same director who directed La Llorona and The Nun 2.
Yeah. Just a second. All right. Sorry about that, guys. Again, on call, I had to pause and answer some phone calls. Cool. Anyways, where were we? Do you guys remember?
The Curse of La Llorona. We're going to have the OG story, the movie,
And
the
it's going to
reviews,
be fun.
and it's going to be fun. Do you want the critics' reviews for Children of the Maíz?
Chilling with corn? Sure.
IMDb, 5.6 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes, 39%. Letterboxd, 2.7 out of 5. And Google users, 79%.
Okay. So, not bad.
Not terrible.
For Google users, 79, that's pretty low for fucking Google users.
We've been pulling 80s, mid 80s.
I don't think we've ever seen anything below 80.
Yeah.
Oh, fast.
So they were like, what?
So I don't think Children of the Corn is going to make a return anytime soon.
Maybe not. Maybe we should watch their remake 2022
Nah, I don't know.
and see if they...
That's not a remake. That's a prequel.
Okay.
Okay. Well, we want to wrap things up.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Love everybody. I love you. I love you. I love you. And you too, listener on
Shout
the radio
out
there.
Itty Bitty Horror Podcast. Thanks for
Hello.
listening.
Yeah, we love you too.
And go listen to their podcast too. It's pretty cool. Creepy stories. Oh my gosh, sorry, Wesley's all over the place. Creepy stories.
Hell yeah. I enjoy them. They're fucking awesome.
All right.
Okay. Hey, Vienna, do you have anything you want to wrap? Is there anything going on in your world that you want people to know about? No? Okay.
No.
All right.
Hasta luego. See.
See. Ciao, ciao.
Thanks for listening to Horror Cinema Obsession. We hope you had as much fun as we did. If so, help spread the word by leaving a rating and review wherever you listen to podcasts. And join us next time for another episode of Horror Cinema Obsession.